Get ready to swirl and sip because today we're diving deep into a region you might not associate with your next glass. Turkish wines.
Definitely not your usual wine deep dives, right?
Definitely not, but that's what we're here for. The unexpected. And I'm curious, when we're talking Turkish wines, where do we even begin?
We got to start with history, and this one goes way back. We're talking thousands of years. Like when you think wine regions, you probably think France, Italy, maybe even newer spots like South America or Australia.
Right, the classics.
But Turkey. Turns out it rivals them in terms of how long wine's been a part of the culture.
Okay, so you've piqued my interest. Give me the lowdown on Turkish wine history. Just how far back are we talking?
Think 7,000 years. That's right, 7,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Evidence points to the Hittites, one of the earliest civilizations in what's now Turkey, cultivating grapes and making wine.
7,000 years. I mean, that just blows my mind. That predates so many other well-known wine regions. So it wasn't just the Hittites, right? Who else left their mark on Turkish winemaking over the centuries?
It was a melting pot of influences. You had the Hittites, then came the ancient Anatolians, followed by the Greeks, and let's not forget the Romans. They were big on wine, and they brought their own viticulture techniques to the region. And then, of course, you have the Byzantines, who were also instrumental in shaping Turkish winemaking traditions.
So many empires, so many chapters of history, all leaving their mark on Turkish wines. That's got to make for some seriously interesting flavors.
Exactly. And it's that intersection of history and taste that makes this so fascinating. But there's one more empire we can't overlook, the Ottomans.
Ah, yes, the Ottomans. Their influence on Turkish culture is undeniable. But their stance on alcohol, that must put a damper on things, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a common misconception that winemaking completely disappeared under Ottoman rule. Their laws concerning alcohol did lead to a decline, but it didn't vanish entirely. Christian communities, for example, they kept those traditions alive.
So it was like this hidden current of winemaking flowing beneath the surface?
Exactly. It never truly vanished, just sort of went underground for a while. And that's what makes the story of Turkish wine so compelling. Because despite the ups and downs, it was always there waiting to reemerge.
Waiting to be rediscovered. And I'm guessing that rediscovery started sometime in the 20th century.
Right on cue. The Turkish Republic, it brought with it this wave of modernization and a renewed focus on agriculture, which included, you guessed it, winemaking. And figures like Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, they recognized the potential for Turkey to reclaim its place in the world of wine.
So unlike newer wine regions still trying to establish themselves, Turkey's story is more about revival, about stepping back into the spotlight.
Absolutely. It's like they had this treasure trove of winemaking heritage, and they're finally ready to share it with the world. And what they're sharing, well, it's pretty darn exciting. But to understand the magic of Turkish wines, we got to talk terroir.
Terroir. Okay, I'll bite. I know it's important, but honestly, it feels like one of those wine words people throw around that can be kind of intimidating.
You're telling me
Yeah.
it sounds fancy, right? But it's actually pretty straightforward. Basically, think of it like this.
Like what? Hit me with your best terroir explanation.
Every wine, it carries a taste of where it's from. The soil, the weather, the whole environment, even stuff growing nearby. It all gets into the grapes and then into the wine itself. That's terroir in a nutshell.
So it's like each bottle is a little postcard from that vineyard, capturing the essence of the place.
Exactly. And Turkey's a perfect example of terroir in action. You've got coastlines, mountains, plains, even volcanic soil. Each region's got its own little microclimate, so the wines from, say, the Aegean coast will be totally different from those grown in central Anatolia.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. I'm a big believer in the power of geography to shape flavor. So let's get specific. If I'm a Sauvignon Blanc fan, crisp and refreshing, which Turkish region should I be checking out?
For that Sauvignon Blanc vibe, you want to head straight to the Aegean. Sea breezes, higher altitudes. Those grapes get that perfect balance of sunshine and cool air, which is exactly what you want for those bright, aromatic whites.
See, this is why I love these deep dives. Mental vacation, A&D, wine recommendations. But let's say I'm in the mood for something bolder, more robust. Give me a Turkish red to rival a Cabernet Sauvignon.
If it's bold you're after, Anatolia is the heartland. And the grape you need to know is Öküzgözü.
Öküz. Say that again.
Öküzgözü.
Yeah.
It means bullseye, and trust me, it lives up to the name.
Bullseye, huh? I'm intrigued already. What kind of wine does that make?
Think deep, intense, full of character. Like dark fruits, maybe some spice. The kind of wine you could have with a big, juicy steak and not be disappointed.
Bullseye it is. Add it to my list. All right, so that's one for the red drinkers, one for the white. What other Turkish grapes are we geeking out about today?
Well, if we're going elegant white, we can't forget Narince.
Narince. Okay, I'm picking up delicate, maybe floral vibes just from the name. Am I close?
They're spot on. It means delicately, and that's exactly how I'd describe the wine. Think floral aromas like citrus blossom or honeysuckle. It's got this lovely minerality, too, thanks to the Turkish terroir.
All right, you've officially won me over to Team Turkish wine. This is amazing. But you know I can't resist a good comeback story. Any grapes out there that were almost lost and are now making a triumphant return?
Oh, absolutely. Have you heard of Kelechik Karasi?
Kalich Karasi. It's a no for me, but tell me everything.
So this one was this close to extinction, like down to a tiny region, barely anyone growing it. But thankfully, some passionate winemakers saw its potential and saved it.
Winemakers to the rescue, my kind of heroes. So what's special about Kalich Karasa? What does it taste like?
It's got that light-bodied elegance of a Pinot Noir, but with a Turkish twist. Think cranberry, sour cherry, and this really interesting spicy note. It's gaining a lot of attention internationally, and for good reason.
From nearly extinct to international acclaim, that's incredible. I love that Turkish wines have this whole other layer of storytelling. Speaking of which, are there opportunities to experience these wines right at the source? Is there a wine tourism scene developing in Turkey?
Oh yeah, big time. It's booming, actually. People are starting to realize that Turkey's not just about history and beaches anymore. It's a foodie destination, and wine is a huge part of that.
Okay, now I'm picturing myself wandering through vineyards, fairy chimneys in the distance,
Mhm.
a glass of Turkish wine in hand, obviously. It sounds magical. But before we book our flights, let's bring it back down to earth for a second and talk about the current state of Turkish wine. Where does it stand globally right now?
Turkish wines. They've got the history, the terroir, the grapes. It's like the whole package. So where do they fit in on the world stage right now? Are they getting the recognition they deserve?
They're definitely on the rise, no doubt about that. But I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that Turkey's actually a heavyweight in the grape growing world.
Oh, how so?
Well, get this. Globally, they're the sixth largest grape producer.
Sixth? No way. I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge. So why haven't we seen Turkish wines taking over every wine shop, every restaurant menu? Good question. Historically, a big chunk of those grapes were eaten fresh or used for things like juice and raisins. But that's changing, and fast.
So they're finally putting all those grapes to good use. It's about time.
Exactly. And they're laser focused on quality, especially when it comes to the wines they're exporting. And you know what's been a real star for them?
Don't keep me in suspense. I need to know.
They're sparkling wines. They've been racking up awards left and right.
Now we're talking sparkling wines. That's my weakness. Any specific producers or bottles we should be looking out for?
Definitely check out Vincora. They're doing amazing things with traditional method sparkling. In fact, they're Yasasin.
Yes, okay, that's going straight on my list.
It actually won a gold medal at a really prestigious international competition. So yeah, Turkish sparkling wines, they're not messing around.
Yes, I love it. Toasting to their success.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so they're clearly on the right track. But what are some of the challenges they're facing trying to break into such a competitive global market?
A long game, right? Building a reputation takes time. And then there's just the sheer volume of wines out there. Standing out, getting people to try something new, it's not easy.
That makes total sense. So for those of us ready to jump on the Turkish wine train, where do we even start?
Online is a great bet. Lots of retailers specializing in wines from those under-the-radar regions. Or just head to your local shop, chat with the folks there, tell them you're curious about Turkish wines. They might surprise you with what they can find.
Love it. Support local A&D, discover something new. Win-win. And once we've got our hands on a bottle, any advice on how to really savor the experience?
Don't just drink it, think about it. Look at the color, give it a good sniff, pick out those aromas, then take a sip. But don't rush it. Let it linger. See what flavors unfold. That's the fun part.
It's a journey of discovery, every single glass. So as we raise a glass to Turkish wines, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
Turkish wine. It's more than just a trend. It's an invitation to explore a whole new world of flavor, history, and culture. Give it a try. You might just discover your next obsession.
Perfectly said. All right, everyone, there you have it. Turkish wines, ancient roots, incredible terroir, and a bright future. Time to track down a bottle and start your own exploration. Cheers to the unexpected and to always keeping an open mind and an open bottle when it comes to wine.